Good morning, good people. Today is January the 2nd, 2026. I would like to say Happy New Year to everyone out there, and I hope everyone has a great New Year or a great 2026. But I want to come on here because for a lot of people, 2026 has brought disappointment and fear and uncertainty into their lives. And I say that just because of the fact that the Obamacare program was not funded. And so, with that being said, a lot of people are either going to lose all of their health care coverage and or the cost of their health care is going to go up. And for some people, it's going to go up significantly in order to buy or get the medication that they are in need of and also the proper care that they may be in need of. And it's truly a terrible thing that Donald has decided to do to the American people. And a lot of people out there may say, well, these people need to go and get better jobs so that they can afford health care, or go and get a full-time job so that they can afford health care. And then you have others that may say that Obamacare was a financial draw on them and on the American people as a whole. But what we have to understand is the fact that there's 163 billion working people in the United States, whether that's full-time and or part-time. And the cost of Obamacare, because I'm not sure how much money was needed in order to continue funding Obamacare, but I looked up some numbers, and basically it stated that Obamacare over a 10-year span would cost America roughly about $1.8 trillion in order to continue to fund that program. 1.8 trillion. And like I said, that's over a 10-year time frame. That's not in a 1-year time frame or a 2-year time frame, but a 10-year time span, 1.8 trillion. And like I said, initially, that there are 163 billion working people in the United States. So if we were to do that complete breakdown of the numbers and what it would cost us as working class people in order to continue to fund Obamacare, it would roughly cost each American or each working American about $1.05 a year in order to have continued to fund Obamacare. And what we have to understand is that that money is truly not coming out of our paychecks. And so when I hear Donald say that that money that was being spent in order to fund Obamacare, he's going to put that money back into the American people's pockets. We weren't losing that money to begin with. That wasn't any type of money that we were missing. Even if they were taking that $1.05 out of our paycheck each year. This is not weekly. This is not bi-weekly, this is not monthly, this would be a yearly thing. I'm pretty sure that every last person or majority of the people can go without $1.05 over an entire year. $1.05 can barely buy you anything. You can't even buy a loaf of bread with $1.05. But yet that $1.05 is helping someone out there that cannot afford their medication, that cannot afford health care or health care for their children. And I would hope that the American people, that we're not so selfish that we cannot afford or want to give $1.05 to our fellow brothers and sisters so that they can have health care. It's disheartening to think that that's the way that majority of the American people think, that they would take away something that is so important, vital to all of us, over $1.05 per year. And so all we can do now is wait and see, because what we have seen, that Donald does not live up to all of the promises that he has made as president of this country. You know, when it comes down to blowing up people in the middle of the ocean, or going and kicking in people's doors and going on job sites and arresting people and deporting people, yeah, he's done that, because those are evil tactics. Anything evil, he has lived up to that and has lived up to those things 100%. But anything that's actually good for America and for the American people, he has not done a thing. And some people will say, well, stopping drugs from coming into the country is a good thing, in which it is, especially with the loss of life that drugs may cause. But, and not to jump too far off of anything, but we have to understand that people overdose and die from prescription drugs every single day. And these are drugs that are prescribed to them, that's supposed to help them. And I don't want to use that as an excuse for fentanyl to come into this country, or any other drug to come into this country that may be deadly. But I should say, as the government, should do things a little differently, because in the long run, he is going to cause a war that we may be prepared for to fight as far as the military, but that's going to be another draw or another drain on the American economy if we end up in a full war because of the things that Donald is doing. But yet, that is the direction that he's got this country headed in. And at the same time, he's trying to do peace talks to end war in other countries on the other side of the world. But yet you're causing disruption and putting the United States on the verge of a war. And that war is going to be with Iran. And even though Venezuela is extremely small military-wise when it comes down to their military, but they're not going to sit back idly either. They're going to eventually stand up and fight, especially if they can get other countries to stand up and fight with them. So we have to be prepared for anything and everything when it comes down to the safety of the American people. But like I said, it would not have cost us anything to continue to fund Obamacare. But yet, this president has completely destroyed a portion of the White House. And yeah, it's not a $1 billion job. It's not $1 trillion, but $200 million and or more could do quite a bit for a lot of people in the United States. But yet, he's making it appear like, oh, 200 million, if that's what the final cost is going to be, because we don't know. It could end up being even more if he's allowed to continue down the path that he's going on when it comes down to building up this event hall or dining hall or whatever ballroom that he's constructing at the White House. But he makes it appear like that's insignificant as far as the amount of money that it's taking to build this ballroom, but yet you are refusing to fund Obamacare. Y'all, let's make it make sense, y'all. And once again, I pray that the American society has not become so greedy, so self-centered, that they would build things that cost millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, in opposed to helping, once again, their fellow brother and sister. Because what we have to understand, that not all jobs hire full time. And even these part-time jobs that are out here that these people are working are a necessity. They are an integral part of this society in order to keep things moving. We have to understand that, y'all. So we can't continue to run around here and say that people need to do better for themselves. Well, you need to do this, you need to do that. Everyone cannot achieve the same things in life. No matter how inspirational or how motivational you want to be or sound when you're saying something, we have to face the facts that everyone has. Most people, majority of us, have different roles in society. And we have to understand that. And I like to use examples. Let's look at sports, for example. If everybody that played baseball was able to go out there and hit 755, 760 home runs in their career, there would not be a such thing as a home run king. If you see where I'm coming from. If everybody could become president in the United States, then everyone would do so. Everyone is not going to be able to achieve, once again, the same level of success in society. So we have to stop saying that people need to do better for themselves. Because people that work at Amazon, in which Amazon is going to be laying off a lot of people this year because of robotics and all of this stuff that's taking over jobs, which leads us back to the fact that people need some type of assistance because jobs are being taken from people in this country. But once again, if Amazon didn't have people there to deliver your packages, if the postal service didn't have people to pick up your letters and mail them off for you, your bills and stuff, as a convenience for you, then you would have a problem. If you went to Walmart or if you went to Kroger, wherever you shop at, and the shelves weren't stocked, and you couldn't find what you were looking for, you would turn around and complain about it. If you didn't have people to change your oil, to change the brakes on your car, you would complain about it. So when I tell you that jobs that don't pay a lot of money to where people have to depend upon something or someone else in order to have everything that they're in need of or most of the necessities that they have to have, We have to stop saying that people need to do better for themselves. We have to look at the facts. We have to stop living in this fairy tale world because of people so caught up in this false reality that we live in now. Even though I know telephones are real and all this stuff, but it's still a false reality that we live in, y'all. Because we get a lot of people on different social medias and stuff, how they made $100 million in a matter of 5 years. And then we go out there and try it and we lose our life savings because somebody has decided to make up something in order to get people to watch their shows, whatever it may be, so that they can get funded through that social media site. We have been fed so many false realities to the point that majority of the people in society believe the nonsense. We sit there and watch television and Superman is picking up a whole train, and we got people really believing that they can pick up a train. How weak-minded have we become? Like I said, y'all, if we can't care about our neighbor enough to help them out when they asking us for $1, then we have to be prepared for our own downfall. And because you guys decided to vote in, or a lot of people, I don't want to say you guys, but a lot of people decided to vote Donald in the White House, which is a self-centered, greedy person, that he is going to be the demise of the United States because of his greed. We have to understand that greed has destroyed a lot of people. And when you have someone like that running the country, his greed affects everybody that lives in this country. Y'all, it's some terrible times that we live in right now. And don't get me wrong, times may have been worse. Times may get worse. But like I've said before, that every single day that we live, the closer we get to the end times. But I was explaining to my son and talking to my wife and my daughter that until we truly see who the man of perdition is, when we truly have to get the mark of the beast in order to buy things, that's when we know that the time of the second coming of Jesus is extremely close. A lot closer than it had ever been. And so we hadn't gotten to that point yet, but we most definitely are getting to that point. For example, even though it sounds and seems insignificant how Donald Trump decided to get rid of the penny. Oh, the penny is worthless. It costs, everything is about how much it costs the government when it comes down to Donald J. Trump. That is the biggest lie, or one of the biggest lies that he uses in order to manipulate the people. Just like when he said, well, we're going to get rid of Obamacare and we're going to put that money back into the American people's pocket. When Americans hear money going back into their pockets, they automatically get excited and they agree with it. But we don't know how much money it's going to be, and we don't know how we're going to get that money and if we're going to get that money. But because he knows what to say and how to say it in order to get the ones that are shallow-minded to believe him. Or the ones that are misinformed. I don't want to say that because some people are just misinformed. They don't really listen and get the fullness of what somebody's saying. And Donald Trump does things or says things, and behind the scenes there's a bigger picture. There's something more that he's trying to do. And so when it comes down to him getting rid of the penny, we know that right before the inauguration or whatever it may be, that he decided to introduce the Trump cryptocurrency, the meme coin. And if you are familiar with cryptocurrency, cryptocurrency is not tangible. It's digital, meaning that any transactions could It's more easier to trace them. It's more easier to monitor cryptocurrency than it is to monitor the money that we use today, cash, coins. Because someone could send $100,000 or have $100,000 under their mattress at home and the government not be aware of that. But you cannot stash cryptocurrency. They're able to monitor what you have. And I'm saying this because they're slowly trying to usher in that mark of the beast, which is going to be cryptocurrency. Because cryptocurrency, once again, can be controlled. So if you say something, if you do something, if you go against what they want you to do or not to do, they could cut off your supply of money. They could cut off your resources because it's digital, y'all. And so, like I said, he's starting with the penny. And it may not be in his lifetime, but he's trying to usher in what the Bible said is going to happen in order to show us that Jesus, or the second coming of Jesus, is a lot closer than what it had ever been or has ever been. So y'all, we have to look at the whole picture. We got to stop looking at things on the surface only. We have to go into it in order to really see what their plans are and what they truly are trying to achieve. And I could say a lot more, y'all, but I've got to head into the job site. But I hope y'all have a great rest of your day, a wonderful New Year's, a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.